Okay, today I'm going over the next section in chapter 1 called The Escape from Darkness. This first paragraph in this section called Escape from Darkness is giving us right away 2 steps to escape darkness. Step number 1, recognizing that darkness cannot hide. And when our egos first recognize that this is true, that darkness cannot hide, this usually causes a reaction of fear. But the second step is recognizing that there's nothing you want to hide from, even if you could. All right? So that second step, that gives us our escape from fear. Okay? So those are the 2 steps to escape darkness. Right away to realize that darkness can never hide, okay? Because the light is everywhere and light expels darkness. It cannot hide. And then knowing that we would never even want to hide it, even if we could. We don't realize that yet because we're in the habit of listening to the ego who's always telling us to run and hide in darkness. Okay? So the Course is teaching us to take these 2 steps. The very last line in paragraph 1 says, when you have become willing to hide nothing, you will not only be willing to enter into communion, meaning communion with God, but will also understand peace and joy. So as I've said before in previous videos, the Course is saying the same few simple things over and over and over and over again in many, many, many different ways. So again, you either know truth or you don't. You're either in love or you're in fear. Those are your 2 choices. And then the Course is constantly reminding us of those 2 choices and that there are no other choices. And it's also constantly reminding us that darkness and fear are not real and that love and light are the only things that are real. It's always reminding us of that. And then it's always reminding us that we actually have the power to choose. We do not have to unconsciously keep believing the ego's lies and keep believing that we're separated and there are things to fear. So this is what the Course is always trying to tell us. So here in this section, in chapter 1, we've been given 2 steps to do, and then we're told when we do those 2 steps that this will bring us peace and joy. Okay, paragraph 2. Holiness can never really hide in darkness, but we can deceive ourselves about that and exert enormous efforts to convince ourselves that holiness can hide in darkness. All right. It also says, reality belongs only to spirit, and the miracle acknowledges only truth. It thus dispels illusions about yourself and puts you in communion with yourself and God. All right, so again, those are a bunch of words that simply mean that there is no such thing as darkness. These are all lies. This is ego fear that we have exerted an enormous effort to convince ourselves of. We have tried very, very hard to convince ourselves that we are separate, that we are egos, that there are things to be afraid of. We are constantly doing our best to convince ourselves of this, and that we can hide in darkness, because that was always the ego's plan from the beginning. As I explained in the video titled There Is No World, when we had the tiny mad idea, the one child of God had the tiny mad idea that we separated from God, we can create just like God can, because God created us just like itself. And so when we had that tiny mad idea and that thought, even though we didn't really separate from God, we thought we did. And our thoughts are very, very powerful. So that is what has caused us to put so much effort into believing in this fake dream world, this world of fear and darkness that we think that we live in. So it's also reminding us that reality only belongs to spirit. No such thing as darkness, no such thing as ego. And then when we know this, that the only thing that exists is spirit, and we dispel our illusions and we wake up and we see the truth, this is what brings us in communion with God. That's how we can connect our true self to God. It says the miracle joins in the atonement by placing the mind in the service of the Holy Spirit. This establishes the proper function of the mind and corrects its errors, which are merely lacks of love. So this is just another way of saying that we convince ourselves of things that aren't true. And the Course is reminding us that we have the power to choose differently and to choose the light and choose truth, choose spirit. That's what it's reminding us of. Okay, what else does it say here in paragraph 2? So it's also reminding us that correcting the errors that we've made, those errors are just a lack of love. That's all that's happening. The error, that is the error, that love isn't present. It's not true. Love is present. So that's the error that the miracle fixes, because the miracle is remembering the truth. All right, paragraph 3. Darkness is lack of light, as sin is lack of love. So darkness is not real. Light is the only thing that actually really exists. And when it says sin is lack of love, we think we're guilty, okay? That's what the ego convinced us of. That's how the ego enticed us to make this false dream 3D world for us to hide in, because ego convinced us that we were sinners, and we are sinners, and that we destroyed God in heaven. And it's not true. So that's why it's saying that sin is a lack of love, because sin isn't real. There's no such thing. But because the ego is always telling us we're guilty and we're bad, we think we're sinners, okay? But it's not true. Sin is just a lack of love, it's telling us. It's not true. It's saying sin has no unique properties of its own. It has no life. It has no force. There's nothing to it. It's just a mistaken error. And it says it's an example of the scarcity belief, and it puts scarcity in quotations, from which only the error can proceed, all right? Because there is no such thing as scarcity. It's not real. Scarcity and lack are not real. Separation's not real. So this belief in sin, this false belief in sin that isn't real, is what causes the scarcity belief, us believing in lack. Then it says truth is always abundant. Those who perceive and acknowledge that they have everything have no needs of any kind. All right? Truth is always abundant. Truth is the only thing that's real. Truth is the same as light. Truth is the same as love. And that's why it's always abundant. Love just extends eternally forever. It's eternal abundance. And it says those who perceive and acknowledge that they have everything have no needs of any kind. All right, so even though when we're in this dream world and we think we're in these bodies, it seems like we have all sorts of needs, all sorts of things to keep our bodies going and to keep us happy and keep us, interacting with this world. But those things aren't real. And when we can acknowledge the truth, it says those who perceive and acknowledge that they have everything. We have everything because we're not really here, and we're really at home with God, eternally extending love. That's who and what we really are, and that's why we don't need anything, because we already have everything, because we are already home with God in heaven. It says the purpose of the atonement is to restore everything to you. Okay, so remember, the atonement is the undoing of the false ego beliefs, and the purpose of that is to give us our true identity back, our spirit self, our God self, our self that is just love extending forever in eternity. But then it says, or rather, to restore it to your awareness. And the reason that it added that little bit on there, to restore it to your awareness, is because it never went anywhere. We didn't lose it. We just lost our awareness of it. We forgot the truth. So that's what the Course is here to remind us of, the truth, to give us awareness of what we really are, which is just pure spirit, love, and light. Okay. You were given everything when you were created, just as everyone was. Okay, not created in these 3D bodies in this false illusory world, created in spirit with God as the one child of God. That creation, that's the only thing that can create, is spirit, which created us out of love. And it says that that's who we are, just as everyone was created that way. Okay, there's only one of us. We are the one child of God. We are all joined. Okay, paragraph 4. The emptiness engendered by fear must be replaced by forgiveness. Okay, so that's why the Course is always telling us to practice forgiveness. That's the way to undo all of these false beliefs, all of these errors, is by practicing forgiveness, which means looking upon everyone and everything with your spiritual eyes, seeing them for what they truly are, which is spirit. It says that is what the Bible means by there is no death, and why I could demonstrate that death does not exist. I came to fulfill the law by reinterpreting it. The law itself, if properly understood, offers only protection. It is those who have not yet changed their minds who brought the hellfire concept to it. Okay, so I don't want to offend anyone, but this is one of the many times that the Course is sneaking in that the Bible has made some mistakes. That this hellfire stuff, anything about God punishing us, anything about us being sinners, all these types of ideas that are out there in the Bible and in other teachings out in the world, that they're not true. They're false. And the Course is here to tell us to let go of the fear of those beliefs because they're not real. So after he talks about the hellfire concept, he says, I assure you that I will witness for anyone who lets me, and to whatever extent he permits it. Meaning, I'm here as Jesus. Remember, Jesus is just a higher awareness within ourselves. I'm here as Jesus to tell you the truth whenever you permit it, whenever you'll let me in. And also, I want to remind you that these statements that are very black and white, which is you know truth or you don't, it's not a one-shot deal. It's not like, oh, I know the truth and now I know it forever. It can be that. In theory, it certainly, absolutely can be that. But that's not usually how it goes as we're unwinding the very firm grip that the ego has had on us. It's not usually a one-shot deal. There's lots of going in circles. There's lots of remembering and forgetting. So there are many times that we do let Christ consciousness in, otherwise known as Jesus, and we do remember who and what we really are, and we do extend pure light and love out into the world. We have those moments. Those are called holy instances. Okay, where we do remember truth, but then often we'll forget again because we fall into the unconscious hypnosis of the ego because it's habit. And that's why the Course is designed the way that it's designed, including the daily lessons, to help you continuously be undoing that habit, be forming a new habit. Okay. Your witnessing demonstrates your belief and thus strengthens it. So every time we remember truth, it's demonstrating to ourselves and to the one child of God out there, meaning everybody else, the truth. It's demonstrating the truth to us. When we witness truth and we recognize it and we remove the error. And then every single time we do that, we are strengthening it. Then we're building that new habit. Sorry for all the plane noise. I live by a small airport, and there's these little tiny planes that come by. They're very loud. Okay, let's try that again. All right, so those who witness for me are expressing through their miracles that they have abandoned the belief in deprivation in favor of the abundance they have learned belongs to them. So whenever we witness the truth, which, is that we are just spirit, light, and love, whenever we witness that and know it and believe it, then we are expressing it through our miracles. A miracle is knowing that truth. And when we practice a miracle like that, we've abandoned our belief in deprivation. We no longer believe in separation or deprivation when we practice miracles because we know it's not true. We abandon the belief in deprivation in favor of the abundance they have learned belongs to them. So that's just us letting go of errors, letting go of false beliefs in the ego, and remembering truth. And that truth has always belonged to us because it's who we've always been. We've never not been a pure light love extension of God. We've never not been that. We've always been that. We just forgot. We got tricked by the ego and we bought into a false belief system. And that's what made this world of duality where we can feel things that feel like the opposite of love. But the Course tells us from the very, very beginning in the introduction that the only thing that's real is love, and nothing that is opposite of love exists. So this is why I continue to practice the Course day after day, year after year, because undoing the error is what brings peace and joy into your heart and into your life. And it doesn't mean when you see things with your spiritual sight and you are practicing miracles, it doesn't mean that everything in your dream world is going to appear to be really easy all the time or really wonderful all the time. It's not. This is a false world of duality. Everything that goes up must come down in that false world of duality. So we are not always guaranteed some sort of magical, perfect life just because we are practicing miracles. I mean, look what happened to Jesus. He wasn't always having a ton of fun. A lot of times he was, because he knew how to see beyond it. And even when he was being crucified, he still didn't let it disturb his peace at all because he knew it wasn't real. But from the perspective of other people watching Jesus, or even us now, over 2,000 years later, knowing what happened to him, we would think of that as being an awful, terrible, painful experience. And so we do appear to still, once practicing A Course in Miracles, have certain awful, terrible, painful experiences happen. Believe me, I have plenty of them. But the beautiful gift of the Course is for me to see those experiences through different eyes and to interpret them with a different teacher. And then I can approach those experiences, which to the ego feel very threatening and very fearful, from a place of love and forgiveness. Have a wonderful day.